Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and to a brand new video. Today we have a really big unhaul. Right next to me and on the floor, I have way too many books trying to topple over and kill me for this unhaul, of which is more than 50 books. I gave up counting at 50 anyway. That I unhauled yesterday from my shelves. You can see they're looking quite bare. Because I just felt the need to lighten the load a little bit. Some of these are TBR, some of these are already read, but I have split them up into genres as best I can. And I thought I'd just show them to you today and give you a brief reason as to why I'm unhauling them. But like, they are covering my lap right now because they keep falling on me, which is really aggravating. If you're a big fan of unhauls, you're going to enjoy this one. If you're not, that's perfectly okay. I have plenty of hauls for you to watch if you want. But I'm going to show you through the books and give you a brief reasoning as to why I'm getting rid of them. The first 4 books I'm getting rid of are the If Love series, which I'm very upset to be getting rid of because these are beautiful. But this series is written by Anna Huang, and I've actually unhauled all Anna Huang books except for this series because I've just not liked really anything that I've read from her that much. So I kind of gave up trying and I held onto these because they were just so stunning. But I just don't think, even if I read them, I would love them enough to keep them. So I don't really want to waste my time when I have so many other books I really desperately want to read. These just feel like they're on the back burner for me all the time, and I'm sure someone will love to have these. So I am sadly getting rid of them. They are so beautiful. And I really like some of the like tropes that are on the back, but I just don't feel I will get the use out of them that I should be getting for them to sit on my shelves. And as I said, I just don't think I'm an Anna Huang girly, and that's okay. Then I'm getting rid of the first 2 books in the Love Like Farm series by B.K. Borison. I have read these and I am going to also unhaul the 3rd one when I read it next month. But I've ordered the Illuma Cray Fancy edition of all 4 books, so I don't need these now. So these 2 and the 3rd one, when I've read it next month, will be unhauled because they can go to a nicer home where someone else can read them and I can still read my beautiful editions. So there's nothing wrong with these books. I recommend them. They're a great little small town series based on the seasons. But yeah, as I said, new copies coming, so very happy. Then we have 2 Tessa Bailey books. We have Happenstance and Window Shopping. I enjoyed both these books. I think I gave them both 4 stars, but I do feel like these are not romances I would reread. I feel like with romance, it's very rare I'm going to read anything that wasn't a 5-star again. So yeah, for these, I just don't think I'm ever going to read them again. I had a really good time. Christmas romances, I'm not a Christmas story girly. I find it really hard to stick to one specific time of the year to read books. So I don't know if I'll ever read this again, even if I wanted to. And this one was great, but again, it had very little substance, so I wouldn't want to consume it again. But I did have a really good time with these. I do recommend them for a fun, goofy time, but now somebody else can enjoy them for that silly, goofy time because I don't need them anymore. Next, I have 2 Maisie Eddings books. First of all, we have A Brush with Love, and then we have the plus one. I have read Brush with Love, and I actually gave it 5 stars. I remember it being very, very good. I've not read the plus one. I don't know if I will. I feel as though I read this during my beginning experience with romance. I had just read The Love Hypothesis, and this is very similar, but instead of scientists, it's a dentist. So for me, I just don't know if I reread it, I would enjoy it as much. So like, I'm going to prevent myself doing that and just give it away. And this one, I don't know, I just don't really have an interest in the synopsis, and I was keeping it because of the author, but yeah, I just don't think for me this is going to do anything. I'm not really sure I want to read it now anymore. I can just read it on Kindle if I'm that desperate to read it. It's not the end of the world. Then we have My Fault by Mercedes Ron, and I am really sad to be getting rid of this because I did get it signed at Yalk and personalised to me. But like, I am not one for the toxic romance of after and things like that. So I just don't think this is for me. I would love to say, oh yeah, read it, love it, keep it forever. And I would love to say, even if I'm not going to read it, that I would keep it. That's not me. That's not me. So I'm pretty sure I'm not going to keep this because I don't know if I'm going to ever like it. Part of me wants to try because it is signed, but I'm trying to be ruthless with myself. I was trying to get my TBR to under 100 books. It is now at 99, go me. But I had to get rid of loads off my TBR, so this is one that just did not make the cut. And I'm really sad about it, but I just don't think it would be for me anyway. Then we have Hex in the City by Kate Johnson. Initially when I went over my shelves, I kept this one, I was really excited about it. but I've never even watched Sex and the City, which is what this is obviously based on with the puns. And it's kind of giving a Halloween vibe, and I'm not really sure I'm ever going to read that. As I just said, I don't like books set with specific like holiday events that I would have to read it around. And whilst nobody has a gun to my head saying you have to read this at Halloween, it just gives those vibes. So I think, again, not saying I'll never read it, but I don't think I need to own a physical copy. If I ever wanted to read it again, I could audio that from the library, I'm sure. Like, I don't need this. Same with Love in the Time of Serial Killers by Alicia Thompson. This has been on my TBR for God knows how long, but it's been too long. So again, this has really bad ratings. It's a 3.3 average on Goodreads. I don't think this is going to be very good, and the only reason I keep it is because look how stunning that cover is. It's not enough good enough reasons, so she's gonna go. Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I just read her. And whilst I love the middle 200 pages, like I honestly thought they could have been 5 stars, the first 100 and the last 100, but awful. So I gave this a 3-star overall. I also never want to read about knotting ever again in my life. I knew it was coming. Everybody talked about it. I knew what it was, and I was like, oh, it's not that bad. It was that bad. I just don't want to read that. I don't want to read that at all. So for me personally, not one I want to hold on to. Not a bad book. Just not my absolute favourite. So I'm going to unhaul this for somebody else to have, because obviously it's a very exciting release. Then I have The Prospects by Katie Hoffman. This is the Afterlight edition, which I don't mind this edition. It's not my favourite, but I did read the book and I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was a really good exploration into an LGBT relationship in sports. Our main character, one is obviously gay and the other one is gay and also trans. So we read about Jean's experience being a trans male in sports, which is obviously not the easiest thing to experience. And it was a really interesting portrayal, a very interesting story overall. But I'm never going to read this again, and I don't particularly love this edition personally. So I'm going to give this to someone else who really wants it. But yeah, I didn't have a good time. It's not a bad book. Now moving on to the YA section. First of all, we have the Heartstopper Yearbook by Alice Oseman. And I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, because I have a signed edition. Ugh, why am I doing this? The issue I have is I'm never going to read this book. It's not really one you read, I suppose. It is more of like a behind the scenes situation. However, this gives me like Brat's official annual 2013 vibes. And every time I look at it, I cringe. I'm like, oh, that should not be in my room. I don't want that. Like, it's not for me. I was not the audience of this behind the scenes situation. This is for the kids who love Heartstopper. And I am an adult who loves Heartstopper, so what are you gonna do? Then we have an arc that I got at Yalk, and this is The Love Interest by Helen Comerford. I did get this signed to me, so again, I'm a little bit sad about it, but it's a superhero story, and I am not a superhero girl. Well, I was until Marvel ruined superheroes after Endgame. Like, it's not going to be in book format. This is not something I have any interest in. Literally none. And if this wasn't signed to me, it would have been gone the minute I got home from Yalk. So now I'm coming to accept that I don't need to own this book, even if my name is in it. So I'm going to hand this over to someone else who wants it. I don't know who would, because it's an arc. They're kind of hard to get rid of. But it comes out next month, so hopefully someone will want it. Next, we have another 2 Alice Osemans, and we have This Winter and Nick and Charlie. I don't like either of these books. I actually think I gave them 5 stars at the time. I was delusional. I was wrong. Okay, ignore that rating. I was wrong. These are bad. Or like, well, I'm saying that. One of them was bad. One of them was bad because one of them was just sad and depressing. Nick and Charlie are arguing the entire time. It was just really bad. And the other one is more based on like the Solitaire novel, and I DNF Solitaire, so I don't know. I just wanted more Nick and Charlie content, but I think in the future, whilst I'm glad I consumed these, I will just reread those graphic novels. I don't need any of this. So yeah, I'm going to unhaul them for another child to have. And my cousin is actually kind of obsessed with Heartstopper, so I'm going to pass them on over. Next, we have A Season for Scandal by Laura Wood, and I am very much intrigued by this story still. However, I own this physical copy of the second book as I was sent it by the publisher. Thank you so much. I've never read the first, I don't own the first, and I'm not allowed to buy any books right now. So she's gonna go. She's gonna go, and I will get them on my Kindle perhaps, because these are YA and I don't think I'm gonna love them as much as I want to. But like, I had a really good time with it, and I had a good time opening it. I really appreciate it at the time. It brought a new series to my radar that I hadn't heard of before. And I do still want to read this series, just maybe not physically anymore. They're stunning though. Very beautiful. And finally, we have another arc of Not Like Other Girls by Meredith Amado. This came out in April. Not that I've heard anything about it, but again, number one, I've never seen writing so weirdly spaced. Like, it's like double spaced and really small. And I just don't think I'd be able to read this copy either way. But again, I just don't think this is going to be for me. It's definitely for a younger audience. So I'll see if somebody else wants this proof copy. And yeah, it's just not for me, and that's okay. Moving on to fantasy. We have the Prison Healer trilogy. These are the Fairy Loot editions. I'm really sad to be getting rid of these because they are beautiful. And I absolutely loved this series. I really did. Look how stunning. But this is the kind of series that if I reread this now, I am 100% sure that I would not have the same happy feelings that I did back then. I was in my YA era back then. I was in my fantasy era back then. This is just not something I would lean to now. And that's okay. But if I don't get rid of it now, I never will. And somebody deserves to have these beautiful Fairy Loot editions on their shelves who will appreciate them and love them. I also do think, like, especially the sprayed edges, this isn't the best Fairy Loot work because it was so long ago. And like, I will never forgive them for leaving the black on the sprayed edges for those pages that are black in the book. Like, that's just ruined the whole design. And every time I look at it, I get sad. So instead, I'm going to hand these over to another person who will really appreciate them and enjoy them. It's just not going to be for me. Another heartbreaking Fairy Loot book. Throne of the Fallen by Kerry Maniscalco. This is stunning if you like the idea of this design. I do not. I love the hardback and the reverse cover. Literally love. And I did have it displayed the other way, but I gave this book a 2 stars. I did not like it. I already own the standard edition and it matches the rest of my Kingdom of the Wickeds. I only was keeping this because I own the original Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy from Fairy Loot, but they don't even match. So I don't need this. I shouldn't have bought this. Somebody else will hopefully love this. It's just not for me, but I am really, really sad I'm getting rid of it. But it does mean that I won't then have to buy Throne of Secrets or whatever in Fairy Loot edition. So thank God for that. Then we have Bewitched by Laura Thalassa. I've read Laura Thalassa before and I didn't actually like it. I'm quite eager to read this still, but I'm going to read it on Kindle. I don't need this. The Witch's Heart by Genevieve. Go on a check. I'm so sad that I've tried to read this twice and DNF'd it twice. And I was gonna try a third time because Jade went out of her way to buy me the most beautiful copy ever. And like, I love this American edition versus the UK one. And Jade was on FaceTime when I was unhauling these books and she was like, girl, it's fine. It's fine. As long as I can have that copy, it's fine. And I was like, you can have it. I'll bring it to you. So Jade is gonna have this beautiful copy of one of her faves. And I'm gonna be really sad that it's not one of my faves, but life's life, so we will be giving this away. I've never hated myself more for not liking a book. Then we have Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. I was interested to read this as Cassandra Clare's adult release, considering I didn't like her YA stuff. But the more time that goes on, the more I just realise I'm no longer one to pander for my intrigue. I don't care. Like, I know for a fact, even if I read this and finished it and loved it, it's not going to be a favourite. And even if it was a favourite, I don't care to know that it would be a favourite. I don't know how to explain that to you. I just don't care. So this is too big. It's the start of a series. And if they're all going to be this big, I don't want it. I don't want it. So toodaloo, I guess. And then the other one is Mary by Anne Ecout. Sorry, I butchered that. Again, I don't know why. It just doesn't call to me when I go over to my shelves to have a look at what to read. And I'm trying to be more strict with myself to diminish my TBR as much as possible at the moment. So this one just didn't make the cut. The next one I have, I'm going to have to go and grab because they're on the floor and they're super freaking heavy. But I'm really sad about getting rid of this. I'll explain in a minute. Just give me a sec. I'm getting rid of my entire, oh my god, this is heavy, Zodiac Academy series. Jesus Christ, that's heavy. Sorry, those are unbelievably heavy. So for some people that might come as a surprise, for others it might not. I absolutely adored that series when it started. I really did. Loved. I even, like, I've got tabs all over them. I worked really hard on these tabs. However, the more time that has progressed through this series, we got to number 7 and it was like a 1.5. We are now reading number 8 on my Kindle and I'm literally having a terrible time. I want to finish this series so badly so I can see it through to the end, see what happens with my characters. However, I do not want to own these physically. They're too heavy to read anyway, even though I have read 3 of them. They were difficult to read. I certainly don't want them on my shelves when I hate number 7. So they're going. Novellas and all, they're going. I can't do this to myself. But I'm also at the same time getting rid of Dark Fae and Kings of Quarantine. This is not to say I'm not going to read them. I actually still want to read the beginning of both these series just to see how I feel about them and whether I want to continue. Because some of their works I really enjoy. I think they just really overdid it with Zodiac Academy. So, but I don't want to own these physically. They are so unbelievably heavy and impractical to read that you're going to end up reading it on Kindle anyway. So I'm cutting my losses now. I'm getting rid of them. This freed up like a whole bloody shelf. It was crazy. But they're so heavy. Even just these 2 books are killing my arm right now. So yeah, I'm sad about getting rid of those, but it was well needed and it's such a long series. Moving now on to thrillers. We have The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I really enjoyed the last Ashley Winstead I read, but I never kept the copy anyway. I don't reread thrillers, so when I read this, it will be audibly and I will not keep the copy, so it's gonna go. And then I'm getting rid of my final 2 signed CJ Tudors. A couple of weeks ago, I donated a bunch of books. Sorry, I didn't film an unhaul. But I got rid of both of my CJ Tudor ARCs and the rest of my CJ Tudor copies. And over time, I've literally gotten rid of all of them but these 2. And I had 2 matching ARCs. I donated the 2 matching ARCs. Now I'm getting rid of the 2 final signed copies. I just don't think CJ Tudor's for me anymore. I loved her at the beginning, but the more through her career she has gone, the closer her writing style has adapted to Stephen King's. And she talks about that he's her inspiration, but I don't like Stephen King and I don't like Stephen King's writing. So therefore, the further we get through her books, the more I dislike them. I also really enjoyed this book, but there was a lot of fat phobia in it for absolutely no reason, and it made me really uncomfortable. So obviously, being a fat woman, I don't want to read fat phobia. That's not for me. So I'm going to be getting rid of this one for that reason. And The Burning Girls I really enjoyed, and I cannot wait to watch the TV show that was adapted from it. But I think that wouldn't encourage me to repick this up. Again, they are thrillers. I'm not going to reread a thriller very often. So yeah, these are going to go. And then the final category is other. First of all, we have Burnt Sugar by Avni Doshi. I did get rid of this before, and then I did take it off my unhaul pile. I got back into literary fiction, and I thought, oh yeah, I want to read this. No, I don't. I just don't. So goodbye. The Power by Naomi Alderman. Same situation. I took it back off the unhaul pile because I do think I want to read this, but I think I want to read this audibly if any way, and I'm not sure it's one I want to read now or whether I want to read it in a couple of years, so it's gonna go for me for now. Then we have 1984 by George Orwell. Again, one I would like to read, but I'm much more interested in Animal Farm, which I do own and I will keep. This one I worry will freak me out a little too much, because obviously I feel our society is very represented in what this book talks about, with being watched all the time, very Big Brother-esque. But I will read it, just maybe not now. And the final book I literally just bought, and that was Abroad in Japan by Chris Broad. It's non-fiction, but told like fiction. And I think I'd enjoy it, but I don't know. It just doesn't call to me. The cover does. The cover is everything to me. But it just doesn't call to me the same way that I would want it to call to me in order to read it. So I'm going to let this one go. It's a brand new release. It's literally being pushed so much by Waterstones at the moment, hence why I bought it. But it's not for me. I don't want it. I don't need it. It's gonna go. I again did another unhaul a few weeks ago. I have sold some of the books. I got rid of the From Blood and Ash Fairy Loot set. And I just realised I have 2 left from that batch to show you. First is Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I DNF'd this 75% in. If I wanted to read this, I would just read Hunger Games. They're literally copy and pasted. It's boring, it's terrible. I don't understand how it has a 4.5 average rating. And then finally, Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I read this month, and this is the Fairy Loot edition. It was not terrible, it was not bad. It was fine. I gave it a 3 stars, but I'm not going to reread a 3-star book. It just wasn't exactly what I was hoping it would be. So yeah, I'm going to pass this on to someone else who would love it, because that is stunning. So that is the massive unhaul I had to show you today. It was a lot. This was a lot for me to talk this length of time. I'm tired, my mouth hurts, and now I have to go socialize. But yes, thank you so much for watching this video and getting to the end. I really appreciate you. Let me know down below what your thoughts are on some of these books I unhauled. Let me know if there's one you think I shouldn't have unhauled. And yeah, I shall see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.